How's your morning going?
Fantastic.
Yeah? Good,
Yours?
man. Thanks for coming on.
Oh yeah, yeah. Thanks
Yeah.
for asking me. Yeah.
Absolutely. Here. Let's do it. You're not supposed to cheers with water, but why the hell not?
Well, I don't drink, so
Neither do I, man. I'm not a fan of alcohol. Yeah.
I'm in. You know, it's called recovery.
Yeah, you are?
Yeah, I go to these 12 steps.
The AA meetings?
Yeah.
What happened? Tell me about that. If you do you
Oh,
mind talking about it?
I was a crackhead for a while.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
23 years sober now. So
Good for you, man.
yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. What was do you mind talking about it some more?
Oh yeah. No.
Tell me. I'm really curious. How did it start off?
How to start off? I think hanging around my cousins on my mom's side,
Okay.
and my uncle owned a bar.
Yeah.
And I lived above it, and a whole bunch of family members. You know, just
Everybody's in the bar drinking?
yeah, drinking and gravitating toward other stuff.
Yeah. How old were you when this was going on?
I was after I got out of college. I was in my 20s.
Okay.
24. Yeah,
Wow.
25, 26, 27. Finally went to my last rehab when I was 35, 34.
Wow. How'd you get what was the reason that you got hooked? There must have been something like going on in your life that
Well, being hanging around the wrong crowd, that didn't help.
Right.
I wasn't a happy camper.
Yeah.
You know,
Why weren't you happy?
well, I wasn't happy. I had low self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I felt like the way I could get out of that and feel better about the world was make billions of dollars or win Nobel Prizes, something like that. But I couldn't do that. I never got there.
Yeah.
It's really hard to do, right?
Yeah.
And yeah. I mean, my father was an alcoholic, killed himself,
Oh man.
so that didn't help.
No, it wouldn't.
Yeah.
So you're just there with the family hanging out at the bar, and then how did you first get introduced to crack?
Oh God, that was back in the '80s. Before then, it was on TV, the crack epidemic, right?
Yeah.
You know, and I wanted to see what it was like.
Just curious. Gave it a shot.
Yeah.
Did you get hooked right away?
No, because I went back to college. I came back here for the summer, worked, spent all my money on cocaine.
As many tended to do back in the 80s.
Went back to college, and I mean, college. Only thing we were really doing was drinking keggers.
Yeah.
That was it. But
So was this all in San Francisco? Or were you living somewhere else?
Marin. I grew up in Marin County,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What college did you go to?
University of Southern California.
Oh, really?
USC, yeah.
Yeah.
Where did you go?
I went to St. Mary's.
Okay.
So my education was, we were going to elementary school here, and in the 80s, like late 80s, I don't know if you remember, but there was you heard a lot on the news about gang violence in schools. And,
That's why you went.
that's why my dad sent us back to Jordan, because you started hearing the stories about metal detectors at the schools, and kids getting shot for their Jordans and shot for their leather jackets and stuff like that. And I think the news blows things way out of proportion.
It does.
You know what I mean?
It concentrates negative drama.
Yeah.
So we think, oh my God, everyone's getting shot.
Well, people forget to just look at the environment around them. And they think what's on the news reflects the environment around them. When it's like, no, look at use your senses, use your perception. Like if you look around, there's so much, especially nowadays, you're noticing the difference. Because I think the negative stories get so exacerbated in social media. But when you look around your normal life, everybody's just a good human being. We're all trying to, we're all just trying to, make a life for ourselves. And so my dad got caught up in the news.
Was your high school education 100% Arabic, or was it?
No, so we had a school. It was a British. So the system that we studied in was called the International Baccalaureate, and it's I think it's a British-based system, and it was all English, and we had Arabic as a second language.
You were born there or here?
I was born here.
Okay, so that was good for you to.
Oh, it was massively good.
Not
It
just the
was
education, but just the.
no, the cultural the cultural exposure, getting to know our roots, getting to know our extended family, getting to know my dad's second cousins, my third cousins. Yeah. We don't really have strong relationships, but we were in that society. Yeah. And that had a big impact on me and my siblings. And then you're also one thing that you realize is when you live in the United States, you're living in a bubble. You hear nothing that is super accurate about the rest of the world. And when you leave and you go watch TV or watch the news or get exposed to things that are in the international world, you understand that the world is much more in tune with itself. Like other countries are in tune with other countries. Like you hear international news a lot more frequently and a lot more in depth and in detail, right? Here we get the clips and the headlines that they want us to hear. And I even noticed that in the 90s as a kid, as a teenager. But yeah, it was a massively beneficial experience. Yeah, it was tough. I mean, I basically, grew up in my formative years without my dad because he stayed here, and we would see him like once or twice a year max. But yeah. So I went to high school there, came back to St. Mary's for college.
Yeah. You got your bachelor's in business, I'm assuming.
Bachelor's of Science in Biology with a minor in philosophy.
You know why I thought it was business?
Why?
Because when you've given, when we have these
meetings,
you have like on the wall at Yellow.
Yeah.
You have the mission statements.
Yes, all of our mission and vision, all that stuff.
I got my bachelor's in business. So
okay.
I remember mission statements, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that stuff. So I didn't have a formal business training.
Yeah.
When I came into the business, I just, number one, it was attractive because it was the family business, and I'd be my own boss. And I saw that there was a lot of improvement back. This was in 2008 when I started, and I mean I grew up around the business. Yeah. Like my dad, when I was 3 years old, they'd throw a bunch of mechanics rags on the ground and throw some tools for me to play with in the garage. But when I came back to run it, I just saw there's a lot of improvement that could be done, especially technologically. You know what I mean? And so I was like, okay, there's a lot of opportunity here. Let me jump into this. It's a family business. I'll be helping my dad out, and I'll be my own.
So when did you go into that original app? What was it, Cabulous?
Flywheel, Cabulous, yeah. So that was. There was what I had realized, and it started off with me and my brother Joe, my dad, and my friend Danny, who now owns a company down in San Diego called Build Fire. And one thing that we had realized was there's a lot of technology for the industry itself, like for cab companies, for drivers, and it wasn't like it wasn't what we have now. It was just like the old MDTs, right? And like Yellow had the Gandalf system, I think it was, and like the different, the display was like a 2-line display with like 15 buttons and stuff like that. But what I realized was there was a lot of technology for the industry internally, but there's nothing external to the customers that would provide a better customer experience. And one thing was, obviously, transparency. So like you'd call cab company, okay, we got your order, call us back in 10 minutes if you don't see a cab, right? And then you hang up and you sit back and you twiddle your thumbs, and am I going to make it to my, exactly. Am I going to make it to my dinner reservation on time?
Make it to the SFO,
Yeah, am I going to make it to SFO? Exactly. So what we came up with was a website that we called WebCabby. Yeah. And my buddy Danny developed it. He's a software engineer. He developed it. And you, as a customer, you'd go into the website, you'd put in your address. Our dispatchers on the back end would see that there was a booking that came in. Yeah. They would get on the radio, because we couldn't integrate to the dispatch system at that time. They'd get on the radio, and once they have a cab committed, they'd punch in the cab number on the website. Yeah. And then on the customer's end, they would see that they've got cab number so-and-so coming. And this was right around the time that Taxi Magic had started too.
I don't know that. But...
Yeah, Taxi Magic was Curb before it was Curb.
Yeah.
And so that was the first sort of technology piece. And then John Wolpert from Cabulus, he spun out Cabulus from Best Buy. It was like an R&D project at Best Buy, and he spun it out from there.
Best Buy.
Yeah.
The company Best
Yep,
Buy.
the retailer.
Okay.
Yeah. And so he spun it out from there, and he took the team that started developing it, and then he came to SF, and he was talking to a bunch of different cab companies to see who could partner with him to give him supply. And he was actually kind of intimidated because we were the one dispatch, because we had citywide dispatch at the time. Yeah. And we were the one dispatch service that had multiple fleets. And he wanted his app to do multiple fleets. And he didn't know that I'd be so open-minded and willing to partner, and I in fact was. And then so Cabulus ended up buying out the technology of WebCabby. That became the core dispatch system for what later became Flywheel. Okay. Yeah. That's the story.
And then did Uber offer originally, before they are what they are now, like $1 a ride to SF cab companies, like their technology? No. Okay.
Uber wanted. See, the one thing, like, Travis Kalanick started off with limousines. Yeah. And they had no desire to, I don't think he had any desire to be. And then Lyft came along. Yeah. And they started the ride sharing, and then.
He wanted in.
He objected to it in the beginning. Because for all of the amount that people dislike him, he was sticking to the law. And he knew that the legal way that he could operate was as a TCP, and he stuck to that. Yeah. Lyft were the ones who kind of just threw everything out the window. Yeah. And then once he saw that they're doing this, he's like, fuck it, I'm going to do it too.
So they never went to the cab companies first.
No.
For some reason, I heard that. Okay.
No. So. Yeah, that's the.
You know what the hardest part of my job is now?
Tell me.
Watching autonomous vehicles pass me by.
Yeah.
On a regular basis, and it's just, for me, before watching Uber and Lyft go by, like, okay. And for me, I feel like, okay, corruption works. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, autonomous vehicles are doing the same thing, and it's just the hardest part of my job.
What's hard about it? What's the feeling you get when you see that?
Corruption works again, and I own a medallion.
Mm-hmm.
It's the biggest investment of my life.
So you have a purchase medallion?
Yeah.
Okay.
266.
Okay.
And if they succeed, I could lose everything. All these years, I've been paying them for that medallion.
Yeah.
See you later.
Yeah. I know. I have to say that's probably the shittiest part of our business. You know what I mean? Is the first it was with Uber and Lyft, it was the technology piece, and I mean, I just want to call it just short of corruption, just short of calling it corruption. Because
lobbying and corruption are basically the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
more or less.
Yeah, happens everywhere. It's just corruption is. I agree with you.
This life, yeah.
Yeah, but so you have a purchase medallion, and you drive a ramp.
Yeah.
So how did that come about?
I've been driving a ramp before I bought my medallion. I drove ramp. I probably, I don't know, how did it come about? Yeah, I mean, I figured roll the dice, right? I mean, everything's a gamble.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you're always taking some risk.
Yeah. I mean, I've been driving ramp since, I don't know, 2010.
Okay.
Or something.
Yeah.
So, And why give up ramp? I like. I mean, it works for me, and I even altruistic value. Just helping people
Yeah.
that need help
Yeah.
more than most people.
Yeah.
So
That's what drew you to it.
well, both. Both. Monetarily and
Ethically, morally.
altruism.
Yeah.
That helps.
Yeah.
Ethically, morally.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
yeah. Thanks.
Started in 2010. What are some of like what made you think of it? Well, let me back up a little bit. So, because I'm really interested in your whole story. So you had this addiction back
before I started driving cab.
Right.
Yeah.
And you said 23 years.
Sober, yeah.
23 years sober.
So, I was in rehab when I started driving cab.
Okay. Okay.
I don't. This is the worst job in the world if you're an active addict, especially with.
I can venture a guess as
crack is doesn't get any worse.
Yeah. I can venture a guess as to why. I have a pretty good reason, a thought as to why. But tell me why it's the worst job if you're an addict.
You're on your own and cash.
Oh, cash
Especially
is right
back
there.
Then.
Yeah.
Farther back you go.
Yeah.
Less so today, but
Because it was all cash back then.
Yeah.
When did you start driving?
2020 or 2001. So it was credit cards were in then, but
But it was still mostly cash.
Well, there was paratransit. We were getting the paratransit books too. So
Oh yeah, I remember the scripts. Yes.
And then there's, vouchers. So it wasn't all cash, but
Mostly though, still.
more so.
Yeah.
Than it is now.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like you're.
Oh yeah. Because now, I think. Whatever.
Yeah, but the cash was there.
Yeah, you're on your own. If you got cash, if you're an addict, forget it.
You know where the connections are. You just drive up. And there's the money, and so did you. So you started driving. Were you still an addict when you started driving?
No, I was in rehab.
You were in rehab. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
You had finished rehab, or you were going through the process? You were in a 12-step program.
Yeah. What was I? Got into rehab in August of 2000. Started driving, and the rehab was a 6-month program.
Mm-hmm.
And I started driving January, February 2001.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you had just finished rehab.
Yeah. Well, I was finished. I was still in it.
Okay.
I started driving.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
With a lot of temptation you had to fight.
Not a thing. No.
What was rock bottom that forced you to go to rehab? Maybe it wasn't rock bottom, but what was the trigger that said, okay, this is enough?
I went in and out of the psychiatric emergency unit hospital 3 times in 3 days.
Wow.
And that was something else. That was, I got bipolar disorder.
Okay.
So, and what happened after that experience, I've been going to several rehabs prior, 6 years prior, 5 years, 7 years prior. Then, I was still drinking and going to 12-step meetings.
Yeah.
For another 6 years. And then I was trying to get my master's degree in education, special education at USF. And something happened. And over a 1 weekend period, I went in and out of the psych unit 3 times in 3 days. After that, I go, okay, I got to change. Something's got to change because what I'm doing isn't really working.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to ask, what was it that happened that you went to the psych ward 3 times in 3 days?
Okay, so part of my master's program, we get a job in school districts.
Okay.
And the only district I'd ever worked in was San Francisco Unified School District. And because of my bipolar disorder, I rubbed people the wrong way where I couldn't even get employed in the district as a teacher. or the people in the district that would help me get the job, they said, we don't want, no, forget it.
We can't
Because
get it.
I just had some manic episodes, and all three of the people, the key people in the San Francisco Unified School District that rubbed the wrong way. They don't want to work with me. So.
And how, if you don't want to talk about it, that's fine. But what was it that made you go into the psych ward?
Oh, I got manic, and I started, when I get in the state, I get a real, positive thought, okay, I feel good finally, right? I feel like I can do anything.
Yeah.
Accomplish my goals, or whatever, right? But what happens is, over time, for the next day, 2 or 3 days, I'll stop wanting to eat, sleep. I start not wanting to work. I start fantasizing that, hey, fuck this rat race. I can go down to Glide Memorial Church and just stand in line and get fed and live in a shelter. That's where I go. And also, I start fantasizing about wanting someone to try to rob me.
Really?
And then I could flip out on that person. Send them to the
Emergency room.
Yeah.
So you wanted someone to rob you so you could flip out?
Yeah, I want to create some drama because my mind won't shut down. It won't relax.
Uh-huh.
And I'm just like, what do I do? And by the grace of God, I've been able, I've gone to psych units 20 times. I've been 5150. You know what that is?
Yeah.
3 times.
That's when the police take you in, right?
Yeah, but by the grace of God, I've been able to ask for help, either by calling 911, going on West Side Crisis, something.
Yeah.
Before anything bad happened.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I've been. Yeah, my whole view. I'm interested in this stuff because, number one, I'd love to get to know you more, but I've recently, I've gone through, my life has gone through a lot of turmoil in the last, I would say, 2 years. Divorce, which is still going on with my wife, and I did some, not so wholesome things in the marriage. But what I've come to realize out of all of it was that my perspective on us as human beings is people usually look at themselves. They have this image of themselves, right? Where it's and the image is usually centered around the material life and kind of their personality. I think you kind of know what I'm getting at, right? And this is basically your ego's projection of who you think you are. But in reality, what we are is we're this soul. We're this conscious soul that is living a life in this body, in this existence. And people's normal image of themselves, their job, their car, their family, their relationships, their personality, that is just part of the experience that your soul is having. And we all go through really shitty times. And what I've realized is that those shitty times are there for your soul to learn a lesson and to develop and to grow. And you have to learn from whenever you experience anything negative in your life, you got to step back for a second. No matter what your emotional reaction is, no matter what's going on with you, you got to step back for a second and say, okay, this is happening to me so that I can learn something. However I overcome this is the lesson that I'm supposed to learn.
One of my favorite, if not my favorite phrases?
Yeah.
See if you can finish it. That what doesn't kill you can
make you stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on.
There you go, brother.
Yeah.
There you go. But it's also, and you get this, and this is I think the 12-step programs kind of touch on this a little bit. It's kind of the subtext, I think. I've never been to a 12-step program, AA or otherwise, But I think it's kind of the subtext of these programs, which is we're created as these conscious beings who are here having an experience, and you are not your experience. And that's how they achieve healing in the 12-step programs, is they distance you, the spirit, the conscious being, from the experience and the things that you have done. Right? Those are not you. You know what I mean?
You almost sound, you know what existentialism is? You ever heard of that?
Yeah, yeah.
That word comes to mind when you describe them.
Yeah, yeah. It's like you're not the addict. You're not the alcoholic. You're not the sex addict. You're not the criminal, right? These are just things that are happening to you in your life because of whatever circumstances have led to this, and it's your job as a conscious being to learn from these negative experiences.
Now, your father's a priest, right?
He is a priest, yeah.
Are you a practicing?
I am. So we brought up Orthodox Christian.
Yeah.
But
Is that Coptic? No.
Coptic is similar, very similar.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. It's Eastern Orthodox. It's generally called Eastern Orthodox, but it's a much more. It's different than Catholicism. It's a much more traditional. I guess you could call it. The best word I can find for it is maybe I don't know, ancient, older practice of Christianity.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say. I would say I'm more Gnostic now, maybe, or more just generally spiritual. I believe that all religions have a piece of the puzzle. Christianity and Jesus specifically. Like I'm much more.
I like that. I never heard that before.
What?
All religions have a piece of the puzzle.
They do.
Yeah.
They do. And really, it's all around this, that you are this conscious being that God has created perfectly, and we just live these lives to experience and to evolve. That's my philosophy on existence now, right? Jesus came as an example, and I love Jesus' teachings, and I follow what Jesus says. I'm now tending to shy away from what the church does, because the church is a man-made structure,
Yeah.
right? And I really want the teachings and the knowledge and the wisdom that Jesus came to give us. And then Buddhism has, if you start looking at things like so I've started looking at the esoteric parts of religion versus the exoteric. Like the exoteric is the church and the traditions and all that kind of stuff. The esoteric is the more spiritual philosophy, the spiritual knowledge side of things. When you look at that and you compare the esoteric part of all the different religions, they have a lot in common. And they're all speaking kind of the same language, kind of the same ideas, kind of the same philosophy. Doesn't matter. Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, Judaism, right? They're all different paths to getting to the truth, and they all have a piece of the coin, a different side of the puzzle. So, what about you? Are you religious?
I call my AA meetings my church.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a big aspect of God and spirituality to the AA meetings, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you've ever seen the 12 steps, they say God is mentioned. It scares a lot of people away, unfortunately, because they're religion,
Yeah, they want to stay away from religion. Yeah, which is kind of a shame. I mean, you could still participate, and even if you don't like it, you can still participate and get the benefit of it. All right, so you're going through rehab. You start driving a cab, and you feel pretty safe at this point driving a cab. Like you're not.
I've always felt safe.
I mean, personally safe. Like you're not going to relapse or anything like that.
Yeah,
You're not
I've never had a desire
to go back
when I'm driving a cab. No.
Yeah.
I'm especially driving to the 10 line.
Yeah.
Seeing it like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What? No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Disgusting. Sad.
Well, I've started to look at it as just these are people who are suffering.
Yeah. Yeah, I try to do that. It's hard though. Because when I get people from all around the world coming in, flying in, and getting in my cab and asking about San Francisco's crime and homelessness.
Oh yeah.
And somehow we got this internationally bad reputation. I don't know how much of it might be, because it isn't that bad. I mean, given the housing prices are still way the hell up here.
Mm-hmm.
If it was that bad, housing prices would be crashing.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if it's the Republican Party trying to, we're the liberal city of the West or the left coast of the United States, and trying to propagandize it. I don't know. I can't, with bereft of any other reason, I don't understand how our reputation has gotten so bad.
Well, I think there's two parts to it. I think one, the reputation has gotten bad, and I think that people on the right have taken advantage of the truth that's there, and they've exacerbated it. I think they're like car break-ins are a legitimate problem.
Yeah,
they're a legitimate problem. Like, you're in a Prius and you're stopped at a light. They're gonna, there's a higher than should be chance, right? In a normal city, where somebody's gonna come smash in that back window and grab your bag, grab whatever it is out of the back, because you're stuck at a stoplight and there's nothing you can do. You know what I mean? The break-ins at the Walgreens and the CVS's. Like all the retailer closures in San Francisco, those are a legitimate problem because of the legitimate problems.
But that was, I think, created by the voters of the state of California, wasn't it?
I think it was the legislature.
Oh, was it the legislature?
Yeah, because they made larceny of $950 a misdemeanor, up to $950 a misdemeanor.
I thought it was a referendum, huh? Okay.
No. And I think in San Francisco the Board of Supervisors approved something similar, where stealing up to $950 is a misdemeanor.
Okay, that works.
Yes. And so you're going to run into an Apple store and smash and grab. You're going to run into a Walgreens. When was the last time? Do you go to Costco? Where do you shop?
All over.
Okay. When was the last time you went to Costco and spent $950? You can get your groceries for the whole month. Walk out of Costco with it, and it's a misdemeanor. Think about it that way. Like, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Has it been changed?
No.
Why
not
not?
that I know of. Beyond me.
Okay.
And so this is where. So this is the truth that I think that the right wing folks are taking advantage of.
Yeah.
Right.
And
so
why
I think
not?
it's both
Why
sides.
not? I mean, it's liberalism gone awry.
It is 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Like, you can't run a society when people are allowed to steal. You know what I mean? And then when you have at least we got Chesa Boudin out. They recalled him, right? He wasn't. I read a book called San Francisco. It's by an author named Michael Schellenberger. I think he's a famous
I know
guy.
that name.
Yeah. And he was talking in the book about how the defense attorneys for the city, when they would be defending defending someone, they stopped giving Chesa Boudin offers, plea deals, because they knew whatever he was going to give them was going to be better than what they would ask for. Like, they'd come in and say, hey, give us, for example, give us 6 months for murder. And he'd be like, how about 3 months probation?
I think he was raised by communists. Yeah.
I think so. Well, the other thing is his mother and father were involved in that.
They were,
Yeah,
they were underground.
They're part of an armored car robbery.
Yeah.
And I think his father went to jail, and he was visiting his father in jail. Prison. Yeah.
I think he died in prison, or he's still there, or his mother got out, I forget. But and he got raised by friends of theirs that were also in that same realm.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. So it's it's honestly like, but then you actually walk into the city, and there are homeless people everywhere. They're not doing anything about it. All the billions that the state spends on homeless, it's not getting better. You know what I mean? It's just going into the pockets of administrators and people who are running the homeless programs.
Yeah, I call it liberal naivete. Yeah, that's what I've been calling it lately.
Yeah.
We can help everybody. We can help basically the downtrodden first, but what happens? They don't think of at the expense of the middle class or the rest of, and the more you help people, the less likely. Oftentimes, I'm not gonna say the less likely. The more I help you, like, okay, if you're my brother and you're a drug addict, and should I let you live on my couch, or should I say get the hell out and go get some help and come back when you got some help. Is, you know, I mean, is that a good analogy?
It's a great analogy, and what you're talking about is, and I think you probably experienced some of this in the 12-step programs. Is they want to help everybody, but they don't want to hold anybody accountable or hold them to a higher standard.
Yeah,
That's the sad part.
Yeah.
Is you are facilitating the ability for these people to continue to ruin their lives instead of, and they think that's their perspective is that's a humanitarian thing to do, is let them do what they want. But you're just allowing them to continue to deteriorate their lives. And if you actually cared about them, you would hold them accountable in some way to pull themselves out or help them pull themselves out.
Yeah, go back to 1918 Russia. They had, their ideals were, let's help everybody.
Yeah.
But in reality,
well,
it doesn't,
when you have a concentrated number of people trying to help everybody, those concentrated number of people are going to end up abusing everything.
Remember Animal Farm? Did you read that book?
No.
Great book.
What's it about?
It's animals suddenly develop, the farm animals in this one farm develop the ability to speak human. They had an uprising because they felt, okay, we're being used and abused as farm animals. We want our rights. Mm-hmm. All right. So eventually, the pigs were the smartest. The dogs were basically their henchmen. All right?
Okay.
At the end of the book, the pigs were turning into, it was like an image, they were turning into the humans. And all that they had said they were fighting for?
Yeah. Yeah.
We're humans now. See you later. We got what? And the animals never really, their plot in life got no better.
Yeah.
But the pigs got it.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens with politicians. Yeah. They start off when they're campaigning, we're going to do this and that and this and that for you guys. Yeah. And the minute they get into office, everybody that funded their campaign is now getting what they want, and people be damned.
Yes.
Citizens be damned.
It's pretty hard not to get drunk with power, I guess.
It is, and I think the only way that we're going to change, the only way that you can improve. I'm not going to single out California, but I'd say the only way you can improve any society that's dealing with that stuff is you have to find a way to vet the politicians in a really meaningful way and figure out which ones are the ones that are sincere and which ones are the ones that are in it for a career and for their own gain.
Has that ever been done in history?
I don't think it has. It's tough. It's really tough.
If it's never been done, how can we?
I don't know, but I think
put it into practice.
I think that's the key. Like, you have to figure out a way to vet people who are running in a really, really meaningful way. I think it's starting now with podcasting.
Yeah.
Like, you're seeing all the presidential candidates have these long form interviews with the famous podcasters, and you're getting to really see them and know them and judge them for yourself.
Okay.
In detail. I think that's definitely.
I think the vetting, the best we can do vetting is what you talk about, the media.
Yeah.
I mean, that's right.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah.
What keeps politicians more honest than the media? I mean, they're not perfect.
Well, not the mainstream, not the mainstream media,
too,
the mainstream media. They're not keeping anybody honest, to be honest. I mean, in truth, it's got to be alternate media, Well, okay. Let me ask. So we could tie it back to taxi driving. How has driving in the city changed for you in the past, let's say, 5 years?
Uber, Lyft, and autonomous vehicles.
Right. But has the homelessness problem, have these policies that we're talking about that the city put in place and the state has put in place, have they affected how you drive and your experience driving?
When I get people off the airplane from all around the world,
they're just asking about it.
It's frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's maddening.
Yeah. Well, what do you tell them?
What can I tell them? I mean, the best I can say is, why is our housing prices still, average home price $1.5 million?
Yeah.
If it's that high, it's one of the highest in the world, how bad can it be?
Yeah. That's
I don't know.
that's a point. Well, I think also it's San Francisco, as bad as San Francisco's reputation is now. The rest of the Bay Area is doing just fine. You go to San Mateo, you go to
Oh yeah.
east. I don't know how Oakland is really, but
Well, Oakland's having some problems.
yeah. But you go to the suburbs.
Yeah.
You go to Walnut Creek, you go to Orinda, Moraga, San Mateo, Redwood City, Burlingame, Daly City, Millbrae.
It's big, high-density cities.
Yeah.
Oakland, San Francisco.
Yeah. They're having the problem. Everybody else, I think, is doing fine.
Yeah.
And I think, at least I've done it this way. Like you go into the city when you need to nowadays. You know what I mean? Because it's not. Yeah. That's how I kind of treat it. I don't know if other people treat it the same way. I would assume they do.
What do you live in the suburbs? Yeah.
I live down in San Mateo. Yeah. Yep.
I live right down the street.
Oh yeah.
3rd Street. Hunters Point.
How long you been there?
In Hunters Point, in this neighborhood, 12 years?
Okay.
13?
Yeah.
Something like that.
It's not easy. Hunters Point.
Oh, no, for me it's fun.
Yeah.
Great weather. I think
It is the best weather in the city.
Yeah.
It is. Like,
Yeah.
always sunny, always warm, always nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's got again, like what we're talking about,
Yeah.
the reputation,
Yeah.
but lies is reality, in my opinion. It really does.
Yeah.
Especially given that the housing projects
Uh-huh.
all around the nation have, as far as I know, have these rules, drug selling rules, that if anybody in your household gets arrested on housing authority property selling drugs, you lose your housing. And when I was younger and stupider, we would go many housing projects and buy hard drugs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's available like it used to be. And I think this made the housing projects much healthier places to raise your kids.
Yeah.
From what I understand, our juvenile hall population has plummeted dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think largely as a result of that, and so Hunters Point's got a lot of housing projects,
Right.
but it's not like it used to be. Plus, I think economically over time, the Hunters Point Naval Shipyards,
Yeah.
they laid off a lot of people. A lot of them were African Americans, and when they lost their jobs, it was really hard for African Americans to get work. There's systemic racism, whatnot, and whatnot. And over time, I think that's. Well, I'll give you an example. I had this retired African American man in my cab about 15 years ago. He told me up until the 1960s, African American could not get any city job except for the labor jobs. Basically, that was it.
So they couldn't get middle management, upper management, administrative jobs. No. Yeah.
City jobs, right?
Yeah.
And much less private sector, because that's basically, how many of them, were out there for African Americans that they knew, who had the rest of the jobs, and what was I going to say? But that's not the case anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So that's also changed the whole.
So what would you say to drivers who have this stereotype or this stigma about the Hunters Point or some of the neighborhoods like that, where it's like, okay, I'm not going out there, I'm not going to service there, I'm not going to pick up calls there, it's too dangerous,
Most of my issues with non-payment or drama, majority of, in my 23 years driving, have happened, unfortunately, happened to have been with African Americans. It's hard not to get jaded. It's hard, it's hard. Now, on the other hand, even though that's happened to me, that's been my experience, I still try to go out of my way. Because I know how hard it is for African Americans to get a cab, Um, yeah. So, you know, what can you say? You know, the experiences there, bad experiences. You know, 400 years of shitty history has created this. So, what can you do?
Yeah. Yeah. But would you say it's isolated? I mean, so for a driver, let me ask this. So if a driver, for drivers who are, who just stay away from those neighborhoods altogether,
Yeah.
what advice would you give them, or what kind of a perspective, what kind of a different perspective would you give them that may get them to understand it differently or to service those neighborhoods more?
I don't know, maybe. I mean, you're dealing with me, and maybe I have more of a heart and compassion, and even desire to make more money. Because most of my, I mean, I can say most of my issues have been with African Americans, but still, 99% of my fares are fine.
Yeah, out of those, even out of those neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but you know, we get, you know, we like concentrated drama from the media.
Same.
Right. Unfortunately, how do you separate that?
It's the same phenomena, right? The
think
media
so.
blows little things, negative
And
things
our
out of proportion,
mind
and
blows
our
it.
mind does the same thing. Yeah.
Or we don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
Because it's too much.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. But 99% of the time, when you pick up fares in those neighborhoods, everything's okay. Yeah. I would. I'm not surprised. I mean, I hear there's a few drivers who understand that I've heard of, and they enjoy. They work those neighborhoods, and they don't care.
Yeah. Part of me is monetarily, I make more money. I know I do. The other part is compassion.
Yeah.
So there's two things going on for me.
Yeah.
I can't tell anybody else to have my compassion. So, or be able to, you know, or separate, or even the experiences.
Yeah.
You know, how do you separate the experiences from reality? Or I don't know.
Yeah, I think you have to.
It can be frightening sometimes.
It can be frightening. I mean, because
That's another thing.
And as a cab driver, cab driving is probably, I would say, it's probably one of the most dangerous jobs out there. You know, like the job itself, driving a car, is not dangerous, but you're exposed. You're completely exposed. You know, and I can, you can understand that people want to minimize their exposure to risk and exposure to bad situations.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But at the same time, I think you can service all the neighborhoods of the city, all the parts of the city, all the people of the city, in a way that's safe. I think there's a way to do that, and a few drivers have shown that.
Yeah. Well, we're still getting calls from my neighborhood. Plenty of calls, I believe. Yeah.
They need rides. They need to go places.
And there's still enough of us responding.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not ideally enough, but
Yeah.
there's also the issue is where it's located. Hunters Point is not easy to get to.
It's out of the way.
It's out of the way. That's another issue. But if it's down in the Fillmore, it's different. We're down there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So would you say that? Do you think African Americans have a better experience getting rides in other parts of town? So do you think it's the part of town versus the
I think the Fillmore versus Hunters Point is
people.
given the Fillmore so much more centrally located.
Yeah.
And Hunters Point just
way out there.
A lot of it takes a while to get to.
Yes.
You know, we're not out there naturally.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas Lakeview, right, is out there, but it's easier to access because it's freeway to, if I'm downtown and there's no traffic, I hop on at 4th and Harrison and be out to Lakeview in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Where Hunters Point is different. Okay. So you get off the freeway over here, Oakdale.
Yeah.
And then you drive. drive.
Yeah, you're going in for 3 or 4 miles before you got to get to on the streets in the stoplights before you get to where you're going.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. So you started off driving in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Just regular sedan.
2001. Yeah.
2001.
Yeah.
How did you? How was that for you?
So I had two professions. I was a substitute teacher,
Mm-hmm.
and I was a taxi driver.
Okay.
And there's so much downtime teaching, I needed another job. It wasn't paying that well, and I got offered a full-time position teaching.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at my cab driving experience, I'm looking at my teaching experience, and I'm saying, what am I happier at? And there's a lot of, for me, teaching, I'm not an actual teacher as far as, I don't want to give anybody an F, first of all.
Okay.
That's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, is giving an F another nail in a coffin for a poor kid that who knows what they're going through in their life, right?
Right.
So
Right.
that's,
And you've got experience with that at this point.
yeah.
Yeah. You're not judging anymore. You're at this point you're pretty open to everybody because of your experience.
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess, yeah, sure, I suppose so.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So anyway, at the end of the typical day, I was 99% of the time driving, I was chipper. Okay, happy. Maybe tired, sometimes exhausted, whatever. But so I had some really hard times at the end of, hard days at the end of certain teaching days where I was wondering if I was doing more harm than good.
Mm.
And I didn't like that feeling at all.
Yeah.
You know. Plus, there's a whole bunch of other things. Maybe my perfectionism, creating lesson plans, and I don't want to just, I want to give interesting lesson plans. Every lesson plan, it's just a lot of issues.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not an actual teacher.
Yeah.
So who knows? I might go back to it. I don't know. But,
and I would say I'm going to make an assumption that the money was better driving a cab.
Well, substitute teaching. I don't know the answer to that. I guess so. I was only getting paid $150 a day as a substitute teacher. What was I making as a driver? I was $250, but then it was a 10 to 12 hour day.
That's right.
As a driver.
Yeah.
So, I think more. Yeah, a little more. Yeah. Well, basically, I was more at peace.
You're more at peace in the cab.
Yeah.
Well, that's important.
That was the biggest one.
Yeah. How would you? So I want to hear a couple of great war stories, or like just great stories from the cab. But
oh God,
you got to give me a couple.
Guy, I pick him up at Walden House outpatient.
Okay,
that's a drug rehab.
Okay.
Taking him to General Hospital. He asked if he could light up in my cab.
What is he lighting up?
Well, I didn't realize it. Crack.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that was. Yeah. A good one.
Well, before you get to the good one, how did that affect you? How did you deal with that?
Back then, I was more codependent. I'm like, I didn't, Today, I would pull over and say, you gotta get out.
Yeah.
Get out.
Yeah.
I ended up taking him all the way to General Hospital. Yeah. I wasn't worried about me smoking.
Right.
Relapsing. But
So it didn't trigger you in any way?
No.
Okay. All right, good.
I mean, again, another example of where I don't want to be.
Right.
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 What was the other one? The good one?
Yeah. Let's hear it.
So, Christina. Do you remember Christina?
No.
She was one of our dispatchers at Luxor.
Oh, yes, I remember Christina.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
All right. She calls me up on a Saturday morning. Hey, I need you to go here, Post Street. Pull up. Guys come out in a wheelchair. 101-year-old guy.
Wow.
2 National Park Rangers and his nurse and him get in my cab. We go over to the newly refurbished Fort Baker.
Okay.
Over off the Golden Gate Bridge. I didn't know who he was, right? I grew up in Marin County, and I've known for years. Like, oh, God, what a beautiful. Have you know Marin County at all?
Yeah.
Beautiful place.
Yes.
Right. And I always realized it was because of environmentalism and the Sierra Club or whatever. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, there's people that get on the stage. I think Barbara Boxer got on the stage, a state senator, and most of the people that got on the stage were thanking this guy.
So you dropped him off at Fort Baker, but
And
you
I
hung
stayed
around.
there, yeah,
Okay.
because I had to take him back.
Oh, okay, got it.
And this guy. Well, it turns out he's a 5-time past president of the Sierra Club. And when it was all done, I go up to him like, hey, I grew up in Marin County. I want to thank you for, I always realized because of people like you and your organization, environment, I got to grow up in this beautiful county,
Yeah.
So that's my...
What's his name? What was his name? Do you remember?
Dr. Wayburn.
Okay.
Dr. something Wayburn.
What was his last name?
Yeah.
All right.
He was an actual physician.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
See, I love this is the part of the business that I love.
Yeah.
Because you're either going to get some wild story that's going to make you laugh,
Yeah.
you're going to get something dramatic,
Yeah.
you're going to get something touching or meaningful like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Any other ones that stand out?
Offhand, I'd have to think a while.
Now, was this in the ramp taxi because he was in a wheelchair?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I gotcha. Yeah. All right. Now, how did you transition from the regular cab to the ramp? When did that come about?
Oh, I can tell you one more drama story.
Sure. Yeah.
How did I transfer? It came about because offered me an 8 to 6 shift. Tom Stangalini, do you remember him?
I remember Tom over at Luxor. Yeah.
The gates were lower.
Ah.
So I figured, okay. Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So the pick up this lady and her baby at the airport, bring her to Sausalito, bring them to Sausalito.
Uh-huh.
We get out of the cab. She takes her baby out in a stroller, right? She forgets to put the brakes on. She's on us. Okay.
She's on it. You're on a hill.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the stroller cars are rolling down the hill.
Oh no.
Yes. And we're about to see it, and we're running after it, right? We didn't catch him.
Wow.
Tumbles down this hill 3 times. She twists her ankle. Okay, so she's
The stroller tumbles.
with the baby in it.
I'm assuming the baby's strapped in or no?
Thank God.
Thank God.
I get down there, the baby's she's fine. Right?
Wow.
I get to bring the stroller up to her. She's grimacing in pain, but I get to tell her, baby's okay.
Wow.
Ooh.
Did it cross any streets or did it just tumble to the bottom of the hill and sat at the bottom of the hill? Wow, man.
Yeah.
Jesus, that must her heart. Oh, I can't imagine. I can't imagine being a mother and having that happen. I cannot imagine, man. I mean, I've had a couple of times where I've lost track of the boys, like 5-10 minutes, and even just that.
Yeah.
But to see that, Jesus. Wow. Yeah, it must have been a relief to be able to say he's okay.
That probably happened about 1.5 years ago.
Oh wow. Yeah. So why did you stick with ramp? All the same reasons?
They started offering more incentives too,
Yeah.
and the gates were lower. The $10 pickups.
Mm-hmm.
That helped. I guess.
The incentive, the $10 incentive for the pickups in the city.
Yeah, access to the airport.
Yeah.
We started getting the unlimited passes.
The short passes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the altruism too. Helping people. That helped us. I can't forget that.
How does it? I mean, tell me more about that.
Well, life's not all about money, property, and prestige.
Yeah.
Is it? I mean, it's about the
No, it's not.
spirit.
You're right.
First of all, it should be about the spirit.
Yeah.
The less I concentrate on getting more money, property, prestige. prestige,
Mm-hmm.
and working on my spirit, improving my spirit, the better off I seem to, the better off I am.
The better off you feel, more
Yeah.
at peace you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
serving others is the best way to do that.
Yeah. I mean, to truly receive. Can you end that one? To
Wait.
truly receive,
Mm-hmm.
we must give.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's a basic tenet of, I know, Christianity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yep.
You know, how many, probably almost every religion or spiritual practice out there,
Yeah.
more or less. Yeah.
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 You get a lot of gratitude from your ramp passengers.
The more I don't focus on this.
Yeah.
Oh, from them?
From your wheelchair passengers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the more I can appreciate it, the less I focus on this.
Yeah.
And the more I just focus on just living life and a good life, the more I can appreciate the gratitude I get. And I get a lot of it.
That's beautiful,
Yeah.
man.
I mean, especially, like you're in a wheelchair, you're waiting for a cab, and a lot of them are real grateful.
Yeah.
Beautifully grateful.
You develop a lot of relationships with with the customers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That must be. I mean, you probably have. I would assume you've got some days where it's just super gratifying, super high energy, super peace, and just happiness.
If I'm focusing more on this rather than this,
Yeah.
yes.
You have those
The
days.
answer is yes.
Yeah.
The more I do that,
Yeah.
the more days I have like that.
That's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
What advice would you give? Well, let me ask you this: how would you? How do you think we can improve the ramp service in the city?
What you're doing? I mean, you're creating the opportunity to centralize dispatch.
Mm.
The fear I have, though,
Mm-hmm.
giving it for free, is how many drivers are going to come on board, new ramp drivers,
Mm-hmm.
and going to look at the gates.
Well.
But then you said, if you don't get access to full yellow dispatch, which is
No, you're not paying. You're not paying the service fee to get the dispatch, but we're giving you the ramp rides for free.
Yeah.
Right. So and that goes back to when the MTA. I mean, I was kind of when I realized that we could do that, when we had the capability technologically in the system to have drivers from other fleets access the ramp rides for free, then it kind of became a no-brainer, right? Because it is. I mean, it's a very specific group of drivers, a very specific group of vehicles, and a very specific group of customers. And, we want to do, I agree, and I'll do whatever I can to help the MTA, improve the program. But you want to make that communication, the connection between the drivers and the passengers. You want to facilitate that in any way that you can, as most efficiently as possible.
Centralized dispatch would be the answer if we could possibly do that.
For the ramp taxis.
Are you sure? Because I could have sworn I'm talking to a few drivers.
Yeah.
Say they're paying.
Well, they shouldn't be.
Okay.
If they're paying, they can come and talk to me, okay. And I'll just say, yeah, we'll take care of it. No, we're not charging for if you want to take the ramp calls, you're not going to get charged. We'll add you to the system. You get them for free, no problem. Yeah. But you're right. What would you say to people who are considering driving a ramp taxi and either switching over from a sedan or just coming into the business brand new under a ramp taxi?
I'm getting a lot of questions from regular sedan drivers.
Yeah.
Asking me about it. So
what kind of questions do they ask?
What is your gate? How do I do it?
Yeah.
What are the? I tell them about the incentives.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like we've gotten, I'd say, close to 10 new ramp drivers, not yellow, but just
in general.
In general, in the last couple of months. So.
Yeah, Tom's mentioned that there's a lot of guys that are interested in driving a ramp.
Yeah. No, but actually,
Like converting over.
I've seen a whole bunch of new seamen. I've seen a whole bunch of new. Yeah, I have. I'm going to say at least 10
Yeah.
or close to it.
That's awesome. What do you think is it that, what do you think is it that gets them over the hump and actually makes them commit and go out and buy a car? And
All those incentives.
all the incentives, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's good.
$1,000 a month. You know,
Oh, for the car, the city.
Or $600 a month for a used one. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's big.
That is big. That's your car payment. Like, you're basically getting the car for free.
A 30 short passes a month if you do the 30 pickups.
Yeah.
You know, the 10 or 15 extra dollars for each pickup.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Those are huge, man. It's like you're pretty much doubling your fare.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. What feedback do you get from ramp passengers, from customers?
From customers?
Yeah.
A lot of us provide good service. You know, they call us up directly,
Okay.
and we're there when they need us.
Yeah.
You know, there's I don't know if you know about that list of drivers that Carol Osorio. Do you know who that is?
Yeah, I know Carol.
She put together. We offer our numbers. You can call us
Directly. Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's really helpful. Before I got here, I from Pacific Heights out to City College, and she called me yesterday.
Yeah.
You know, set it up.
Yeah.
You know, so trying to think as far as on the flip side. You know, sometimes we could be ornery and not friendly.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, if they're not meeting their needs, or we make an assumption, and you know, things don't work out to our satisfaction, and we
As a
sometimes
driver or as a passenger?
as a driver, sometimes we can. We not talking about me specifically. I've done it in the past, but I haven't done it for a while.
Yeah.
Or we might blame, hey. You know. But then again, you know, sometimes I'll have people having me wait for 10, 15 minutes. Like, what are you doing? You know?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you're in a wheelchair, but and repeatedly. Yeah. So, but you know.
Human beings are tough, man. It's not easy to deal with. It's not easy for us to deal with each other sometimes. You know, and that's something. I think that's something you just got to realize in general about our business. You know, about the taxi business, is that you're dealing with human beings. Sometimes it's going to be tough. You know, have a little bit more patience. Have a little bit more. You know, take a deep breath. Count to 10.
But then when you have another appointment that you were supposed to make, and you waited 20 minutes, something like that. But it doesn't happen much.
Yeah.
It rarely happens to me. So
yeah.
Thank God.
All right. Anything else you want to mention before we wrap this up?
Not that I can think of. Yeah. Watch out. 10 minutes from now, I'll think of something. But
Absolutely. Maybe we save it for the next one. Write it down for the next one. Thanks a lot, man.
Thanks, Carl.
I love the conversation. This is great.
Yeah.